Hey, it's Ryan Seacrest. Life comes at you fast, which is why it's important to find some time to relax. A little you time. Enter Chumba Casino. With no download required, you can jump on anytime, anywhere for the chance to redeem some serious prizes. So treat yourself with Chumba Casino and play over 100 online casino-style games, all for free. Go to ChumbaCasino.com to collect your free welcome bonus. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop, and you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation. So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Yes, I am on location. I'm not driving. Hey, say hi. Hi. On the way home, dinner was late. We were late. I had to go to Costco to get a prescription for new glasses, so that ran late. But as a pro, I'm here. God, look at this. Look at this fat. It's a horrible angle. I can't. Yeah. All right. There, how about wide angles doesn't work for me. Anyway, without further ado, because I do so much, let's bring in our first co-host. He is the man with the shiniest mask in bowling. He is the resident house hack. It is the one and only Dr. Ocho. Good evening, Ocho.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with my biceps and Rob's neck.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I kind of brought that on myself.
Kind of visible. It was the, if it wasn't, I wouldn't, but we talking straight facts here. We're unfettered. We are, we talk about the hard hitting topics and sometimes the soft, free flowing topics like Rob's neck.
That's true. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, you're a doctor, you know about necks, right? So, you're qualified.
Yes, that is a lot of adipose tissue. Everyone look up adipose tissue. And then you'll have more unfettered access to Straight Up 5. That was fettered a little bit, but it's also knowledge, and knowledge is king, knowledge is power. Who's the other guy on the show here, Rob?
Before we get to that, at least it's not epididymitis like Vince Russo.
You know what? It might be. Even though epididymitis is much lower, it may have gotten that swelled up.
That was a good setup. Also joining us on the show is he is the sexiest man in the world. He is the man with the name on the marquee. He is the one and only Mr. Johnny Petraglia Jr. Good evening, JP.
It was a perfect Brady Bunch intro.
Hello, Johnny.
Like he
Good
was
to see you
looking
guys.
up like at the beginning of the Brady Bunch.
Am I crazy in believing, Rob, what time is it in Tennessee?
It is 7:07.
Oh, that's why it's still light out.
Because you think, you were going, why is it light out? Rob's in the
like, why is it light out? It's at 8 o'clock on the East Coast, but I guess you got an extra hour. All right.
Correct. I'm an hour behind Ocho. Well, Ocho's always in the dark, so I guess it doesn't really matter what time of day it is. He's in the cave, so.
That's true.
They feed me pancakes and pizza because it fits under the door, but it still works.
Fantastic source of carbs there.
Johnny, I love that picture you put out on your Facebook page either today or yesterday of your with you and your boys in Reno. Hashtag Suck in Reno. That was a pretty cool pic. Who was in the pic with you?
It was my buddies DJ and Tim. I can't remember actually where I met the one guy on the right, but the other guy, him and I have just kind of known each other from Vegas bowling here and there. I ran into him at Red Rock yesterday when I was subbing on Mama Phyllis's bowling team. And he was cool enough he had snapped a picture while I was in the bracket line in Reno about to enter brackets for a team event.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like, it's one of those friends that, you just, or acquaintances that you just see once in a while. And when you see him, you hash like, hey, remember last time we were together, blah, 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 blah. And so it was just cool. But yeah, he came up to me, he goes, dude, that picture I took of you in Reno, you look really, really, really jacked. I'm like, well, I am really, really jacked. And then he showed me the picture, and I'm like, holy shit, I look jacked.
Yes, you are. You look, yeah, that's because you are, exactly.
Jeff,
before we get into anything deep, let's get into some league talk. We didn't really get into much of it last week or the week before, but I'll start with you, Ocho. Are you up to 217 yet?
I weigh about 215 actually, but
okay.
That's because I haven't exercised in a while.
That's fair. How's your bowling?
I'm bowling okay. It doesn't matter. I'm the only guy. This will be a quote from Phil Mickelson. I'm the only guy that can still score using inferior equipment because all my stuff is from 2005-ish. And I'm still freaking rail in the pocket. But strangely enough, I had 3 4.9s last week. I made one of them, but that's an odd leave for me because I don't really have too much. So all it takes is a couple of 4.9s, and those are the only. I'm not a very good bowler, but also don't really care. I should, but I don't.
Are you really? You got to be good by now. You've been doing it for what, 6 to 8 years?
Almost. Well,
almost.
Not counting the 10 years off, but it's all right. 4 years.
Ben, thanks for hopping by, buddy. Thank you, Ben. Welcome to the show.
Hey, let's go back to JP's pants, by the way. Could the pants have been any tighter?
I'll get to it. Ben, I bowl league on Tuesday nights, so I get pretty shit-faced. That's my one night a week to drink. So I will respond to your IM. I'm sorry, I've been kind of out of commission since earlier today.
They're not called IMs anymore. That's AOL stuff, man.
Whatever. I don't give a fuck, man. Oh, poop. I don't give a poop. Sorry, young lady.
It's a
Jeff, the pants were tight, but like not as tight as they look in that picture. But yeah, they were just kind of like I don't know. That's a suit that I wore when I ministered my sister's wedding, and my waist is the same size, but I guess my thighs are bigger.
The light green.
You know when? See, here we go, teaching her how to drive.
There we go. Here comes the
war. When Dad threw that 298, I remember he had the skinny boy pants on too. You can almost see the you almost see like privates outlines and whatnot. Not that I was looking, but 1970. What was it?
Well, actually, they just painted his quad and his hamstring and all that, and then they just attached the bell bottoms from his knees down.
Oh, that makes sense. So nothing to really pixelate either. Then all right.
No. What's up, Dave? And John, good to see you as always.
Johnny Sperone, what up? That's my boy. You're my boy, Blue.
Speaking of league, I gotta tell you about league. So
yes, please.
So yesterday, Mama Phyllis asked me to go sub with her at Red Rock. So typically, Red Rock is, if not the easiest, it's really up there as far as the easiest centers in Vegas. It's really, really easy to strike at Red Rock.
Is it Ocean Lanes easy for us on the East Coast?
Nothing is Ocean Lanes easy.
Okay.
But it's easy. So I go there. I brought a raw hammer, pin down, or actually pin in my middle finger so it doesn't flare at all. And then I brought the Ebonite 1 with a really, really tall pin, which I can't really seem to use on anything because it hooks so much. So the first game with Phyllis. Now keep in mind, I'm bowling this 9:15 a.m. trio league on a Tuesday. Her husband was out of town at work. Her girlfriend's on a cruise somewhere. So it's just 4 of us on the pair. It's me and Phyllis, and the team we're bowling only has 2 people. So because I just got back from Reno, my thought process, even in league, is to play them conservatively until they open up. So I start with the raw hammer playing, I don't know, like 15 to 8 or so. And I bowl a pretty good game. I go strike solid 8, turkey blower 7-10. I wind up shooting 2-10. So then I decide to switch to the 1 in game 2 because I'm like, all right, that's obviously not the right entry angle. I should not be bowling 212 on a house shot this easy. The second game, I moved about an arrow deeper with the 1, and I had the front 10 and then stoned a 7-pin and missed it for 288. And then the last game, I had the front 6 and I had the first 3 and I left the 7-pin, and then I struck out with a 6-pin on the fill ball for 278. So I still wound up shooting 778 with a 212 the first game. So now that immediately leads into my 11:30 a.m. lesson. I give lessons to this guy every Tuesday, and he decides that he wants to bowl 2 Baker games with me as part of his lesson.
Hey, can you please explain what Bakers are, just for anybody that doesn't know?
Sure, it's all in with 2 people. It's alternating frames. With 5 people, Baker system would be the leadoff bowler bowls the first and 6th frame, second bowler a second frame and 7th, third and 8th, 4th and 9th, and so on.
Yeah, everybody knows that, Rob. Come on.
I would think.
I didn't know that. That's why I was trying to say it like that.
That's very good. That's quite a raspberry. So I get there, and now I'm at my lesson to bowl. Not my lesson to bowl these 2 Baker games, and we alternate 10th frames. And I think out of a possible, what did I throw? Let's see. Because I had a 10th frame, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 4, 7. I threw 10 of 11 of my possible strikes there. So it was a very, very nice ego-boosting morning heading into my league last night at South Point. And then at South Point last night, I shot 268 with the front 8 the first game, 269 game 2, and then a 230 for another 770.
Wow, nice.
So it was a really fun, high-scoring day for me, and I didn't get a chance to make a Facebook post and thank my sponsors and my ball reps for so graciously supplying me with the ball balls that allowed me to achieve this greatness in this sport and, yada, yada, yada. So I figured I'd just do it here and then never post it.
Well, thank you, brother.
I don't post things either. Now that you just reminded me of something. So this is what I'm struggling with. So I said I had a 4-9, and I remember it was in the 9th frame of the second game. I had the front 4, ring and 10, made the spare, obviously. Left 9 10 pins, made them all, of course, because I'm wicked awesome. So anyway, and then now I got strikes up until the 9th frame, and then I throw a 4-9. So I open, and then I wind up shooting 235 somehow. So whatever I had in the 10th equaled 235, and I'm like, wow, that one night in the 9th frame, what a bad frame to open in a 4-9. And the damnedest thing is, I thought the ball was good, but and it didn't like dive or anything. I don't know, just a weird, wacky hit, weird, wild stuff. But
it's like Belmo. One of Belmo's shots at the TOC, he's like, man, I really thought it was good. He thought it was better than some of the others, and I forgot what he left. But it's just funny when you think you roll it well and you don't get the result you're looking for. You kind of wonder what went wrong.
But in the 8th frame, I'm thinking I'm going for a 270 or whatever. What would I get? A 279 if I go off the sheet with a 9 spare in the 5th frame?
I don't do math, so yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, JP, you know how to keep score, right?
Say it again. I wasn't listening.
Oh, thanks, pal.
I love my treasure.
I had the front 4, and then I 9 spare, 10 ring and 10, made the spare, and then I had strikes up until the 9th frame. Yeah. Well, in the 9th frame, I threw the 4-9, and then I don't remember what I had in the 10th. But in the 8th frame, I'm thinking, all right, 2-7. What would I be at 279 if I go off the sheet?
If you're 279 if you go off the sheet. Once you left the 4-9 in the 9th frame and missed it, I think your max is 240 something, 246, 7.
Yeah, so I wound up with a 235. So I guess I threw a spare in the 10th at least. But here I was, and again, I'm on a good roll. Even the 5th frame was a really good shot. I mean, it was a ring and 10, so it wasn't like it was a weak 10 or anything. So and then I still struggled. 235. Going from a 279 to a 235. My God, we are staring at Rob's neck in a big way right now. It looks like
great. I like this part right here.
It looks like it's about to overtake his shirt.
By the way, John, I'm going to be consistent with John here. Last night, I would also like to thank Marlboro. I'd also like to thank, I don't know if it was Don Julio, Jose Cuervo, Casamigos, Tres Generaciones, or a mixture of all of them. And
And how about
yeah,
Tammy the bartender, at least for serving him?
I think his name was Safid.
Ah,
He said, "John, hello."
he
likes me.
fed you some drinks, is what he did.
He Safided me all night. It was fantastic.
Going up the stairs. You might be out of breath.
Enjoy that. You
All right,
enjoy
well,
that.
So Rob will be back in 20 minutes when
Well,
he puts
while we're
his,
doing that, Och, did you get a chance to watch the Kokomo Classic, or did you hear about awesome Packy Hanrahan's first win?
Oh, you betcha. I even like the song Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take it. I was singing it all day. I thought it's the USBC match.
Oh yeah, I got it. It took me a minute. Well, you were just
Come on! Are you kidding
Come on,
me?
Johnny.
I forgot that they were down in Kokomo. I'm singing the whole song. They don't even say Kokomo for like another 9 or 10 lines after that.
I didn't know there was a such thing. But yeah, I've heard Packy won.
Wow.
Get it?
Yes, there you go.
I get it. Yes. Thanks. Good job.
Okay, got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
so I didn't see that, but I know I heard all about it actually when you just told me a few minutes ago. So I guess we're going to discuss that. Was it on TV?
Well, I thought it was obviously Packy's a really, really likable guy. He's a really,
I watch his
really
shit
good
stuff.
player.
Can we say shit now since you're in your
Yes, you can.
room?
Yeah. So it was really awesome to watch. I mean, I kind of watched Kokomo throughout the week, and it was one of those strange weeks. I always like to talk about left to right. It was a very strange week left to right because Packy and who was it, Graham Fa, both seemingly had a look that just couldn't be created by any other lefties. I know that Matt Russo also made the cut to the it wasn't match play this week, but the extended qualifying section. But it was pretty weird to me to see 3 completely different games. Matt Russo, even though he's two-hander, he's thumb in the ball, soft left-hander.
He's
kind of
thumb in the
circles it a
ball?
little. Yeah, Matt Russo throws it with 2 hands, but he leaves thumb in the ball.
No kidding. Does that take his revs down a little bit because of that? Or, I mean, I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
It does. Okay. So that was a good observation by Oach. All right.
Absolutely. And then you got Packy, who's a more aggressive, firm, like to the spot, hit it pretty good at the bottom lefty. And then you got Graham Fa, who's basically as traditional as they come. He kind of reminds me of like a mash of, say, a Parker and a Couch. He's kind of right between the two of them. So it was interesting to see, of all the talent on the left side of the lane, how few guys made it, but the guys that did make it were pretty much kicking the field's ass and like out averaging the field by tons. Packy had such a lead, he didn't even really have to hang on to the lead. He just had to not bowl like a schlub.
Were they all throwing it the same? Like we're not, I mean, playing the lanes the same, I guess I should say.
Typically, when you get to the end of a tournament or the guys that are left in an event, it's typically the guys that are playing the correct zone that make it there. So it's usually the same zone. Like it's very, very rare that you'll see everybody playing the 4th arrow and you'll see somebody make television playing the gutter, unless you're Norm Duke. But most of the time, and for the most part, they were in virtually the same part of the lane, just different speeds, different angles. They were both throwing purple hammers. I know that. That's pretty typical of the left for sure. But I thought the way Packy performed in the title match was great. I already forgot who the fuck he bowled in the title match, who was also going for Ogle. So I think that Packy may have been a little bit more relaxed knowing that Ogle was also going for his first singles title. He does have a doubles title with Rash. But I think that may have fed to how well he performed in that title match. And it was really cool to watch him keep his composure throughout the entire thing. And it was I thought, a very, very enjoyable and like well-deserved win for the young man. I thought it was cool that first people that he wanted to FaceTime was his mom and dad sitting there next to the trophy. That was really cool to see. And in general, it was exciting to watch. As exciting as it could be on the computer, but
I enjoyed it, and I was happy for him. He's been bowling really, really well as of late, and to dominate pretty much the entire week as a lefty. I mean, that just doesn't usually happen anymore.
That's like a finals slap shot shout out, because you had Ogle, could be Ogie Oglethorpe, and then you had Hanrahan, who is the goalie that played Eddie Arcadia in The Last Dragon, who attacked Reggie Dunlop when he was like, Hanrahan, your wife's a lesbian. No one remembers Slapshot? Everybody go watch Slapshot tonight.
Been a long time.
So Hanrahan was the goalie's last name. Again, he played Eddie Arcadia in Last Dragon, which I know Johnny knows Last Dragon. I don't want to hear nothing.
Leroy.
Oh, see? That's him. So,
Who's the master?
sure enough. Anyway, now we're getting fettered. The point is, shout out to Slapshot and for bowling, paying homage to Ogie Oglethorpe and Hanrahan from the other team.
What's up, Alex? Yeah, he pretty much led from start to
Real
finish.
quick, Rob. Just what you just did there. Like, hi, Alex. There was also a new listener down from, I think, North Carolina that said hello that we never got a chance to say hi to. I missed his name.
Sorry.
No. That's good. That's me. You know, I want to at least say hello to some of the newbies. Hello.
Unfortunately, I can't because once I jumped on my computer, it cleared the chat out. So if it was earlier than that, when I was on my phone,
that's okay. If he's still here,
North
he knows.
Carolina
He's
person,
saying
say
hello
hi
from the
again.
Carolinas.
And we'll probably miss it
do that.
again because we're not that bright.
but yes, Alex, to answer your question, he pretty much did lead from start to finish. It was very, very cool.
Yeah, the only round he wasn't leading, I believe, was the first one. I think he was in fourth.
Yeah.
And then he led the next five rounds.
And he was throwing purple hammer most of the time, right? Which is pretty much what he throws all the time.
Pretty much. I mean, when we talk about the Masters, I will tell you that the urethane is not as dominant on the left side of the lane this week at the Masters.
True.
And there are a lot of lefties doing well this week throwing resin. I mean, Jacob Buttriff is just mauling him over. I think he's 520 over or something, and he drilled up a fresh Scorpion Sting from Hammer, a fresh Columbia Cuda. I know he was throwing that new Deviate Troublemaker.
Yep.
And to tell you the truth, I don't even know if when I saw his score sheet, if he has a urethane ball even checked on his score sheet as a ball that he used. We'll find out more in the matches. But yeah, it's this is like the first week that you don't see urethane really taking a massive charge. It's just there's so much oil. They're 43 feet in length. They're a little bit longer. They're playing tight down lane. Can't really get loopy with it at all. Kyle Michalowski bowled considerably well considering how short he's been out on tour. He's not even a full-time player. He's out there in his first year. He said that you were seeing 210s left everywhere, and absolutely, the minute you go around it at all or away from the pocket, it's over. So
When in
that
Rome.
was just my
Almost
little exiting Packy and into the Masters.
When in
there.
Rome.
When in Rome.
Belmo said he was happy. You know, he's pretty much able to throw whatever he wants. I mean, he's throwing the Fate. He was throwing the one he threw last week, the DX10.
Is he
DDV.
overpowering lanes, or is he
Whatever
just
the hell it
always
is.
playing them super correctly, and he's that accurate, or a little bit of both?
Well,
Both.
what I've seen this week is Belmo from the start of the tournament when he opened with 8-13 the first three games. Most people on the fresh at the Masters this week are playing up the lane. Like right before we tune into our show here, I just watched Sean Rash bowl 260 or 258 in game 2 of qualifying just now to go from 97 over to 156 over or whatever.
That's good because he was struggling. He was way down there at one point.
Yeah, and that projected number is going to be in that 160 to 180 range. So that was a big game for him. But him and most other guys, especially on the fresh, are playing pretty much up 6, 7, 8, 9. Really staying up the back of the ball and getting it to roll forward. And then eventually, you don't really see that much transition in 5 games, especially when you have 390 players over 3 squads and 60% of them don't even have business being in the tournament to begin with. So there's extra balls going all over the place. So they're even sloppier down lane, right? But Belmo, from the start and the first day, I saw him way deeper than everybody else. I don't know if he was using urethane and slow hooking it or if he was using like something like a dark code or a night road or something like that, but he was considerably deeper from the start.
I think he was using a phase. I know he was using a phase 2 at one point. He was using a phase 2. He was using the Fate, and then the other one I mentioned. I can't remember the name of it that he used last week. But he said the gutter was pretty much.
Oh, the RSTX2. RSTX2.
That's the one. He said the gutter was pretty much in play, which for him that's him. That's his shot.
Yeah. And that's, again, I haven't seen much of Belmo bowling because it's so hard to track the channels of who's where with that many guys. But the few, like I said, the few times I've seen him this week, he actually seems to be deeper than the competition on the fresh. And he created something from deeper that allowed him to lead the first two squads. And depending on how it goes on tonight's squad, if he's going to lead going into tomorrow. But again, guys, it's a great tournament concept. It's a great idea. But all in all, when it's all said and done, this qualifying, when it's over, means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. You could out-average the tournament leader, when it's all said and done, is going to out-average the guy that qualifies 63rd, because you include last year's champion. He's going to out-average the guy. Well, let's actually do it here. It's going to be approximately 20 to 22 pins a game, ideally. Is what is going to be the separation of the tournament leader to the 64th position. So when you look at things like that, what happens is, to me, as much as I like the idea of, well, it's the Masters, anybody can win, this and that. The problem is if there's one shit pair in that house that Belmo bowls 140 on, what happens if that's the pair that he's got to bowl the guy that qualifies 64th? And that guy, his two high games of the week were on that pair that week, 300, 270.
I always wondered stuff like that. Which again is now that's taking a little bit of the skill out of it again, making more of variables be the issue, which does not indicate someone's true athletic talent. Having a physics degree or a chemistry degree shouldn't be part of. I don't mean to go on that tangent again, but that happens. But that's because that's the thing where, and if only they'd be able to describe it, or not even describe it. Like, we know the oil gets slopped up, and that's why if the bowling ball hits oil, it slides. That's very simple. So, but if they could describe like what happened over the 10 games prior and show in detail of like almost like cartoon style, like what it looks like and what the ball's doing. But anyway, I'm digressing a tad, and it didn't happen because Belmo probably would still be able to figure something out, move to the right or something, and throw a plastic. Who knows? Anyways.
What have you seen from our buddy Marshall?
Before we get to Marshall, Jeff, I did drill the mindset. I do like it. To me, it's very comparable to an original mastermind. It's gets through the front. It gets through the front really, really clean, and then it picks up energy, and then it continues. Whatever.
Go that way really fast. When something gets in your way, turn.
My only problem with the mindset is there's nothing I need it for right now. I couldn't use it in Reno because you can't use anything on the left side that really hooks in Reno. And in League, I never really need a ball that has that much tread. But as far as how clean and it's a very clean looking ball, it's very smooth. It really. It's very nice. The balls in Brunswick right now, if you're considering getting a new ball or balls, the balls that you really want to consider picking up would be, number one, the Black Widow Hybrid 2.0, that black and red one. Everybody is throwing that ball, and apparently that ball is like the second coming of Christ. Other ones obviously are a little bit older, like the Obsession Tour is a necessity in your bag, but that mindset looks really, really fantastic. The Ebonite 1 remix, if you don't like it out of box, hit it with 2000. But if you don't like it out of the box, I suggest you throw it 12 to 15 games first and let that shell crack a little bit. But those are some balls that I would definitely keep my eyes on. The Purple Hammer resin is another one that creates an entirely different look than urethane and resin. It's hard to explain without having you throw it. But as for the mindset, yeah, the ball looks good. And it's Mets colors, which makes it great.
What about what John Sprone asked?
Does the USBC do another check on Belmo's equipment? You know what? I wouldn't put it past them, John. I wouldn't. But
they even make reference to it at all? Or did anybody make reference to it? I mean, because they still have never explained what their rationale was. I know we discussed it maybe a month ago or so, maybe a month and a half ago, that we kept giving them the benefit of the doubt too. Like, well, maybe they're going to say something, and they really just shit the house with it. I mean, that's all I got with that.
Well, they almost doubled down, right, by banning certain years of urethane after that. So,
it's almost like they had to do it in order to justify their freaking hidden freaking dissection of these bulls.
Definitely. The both. So our buddy Marshall Kent is bowling very, very well
he
this
must
year.
have used the restroom early this morning before bowling, as he described on our show, Straight Up 5.
Hell yeah.
If you haven't seen our interview with Marshall Kent, check our archives out on YouTube and our audio podcast. But Marshall is there's a lot of guys on runs right now. Obviously, EJ, he was down early this week, but he moved back up towards the top 10. Buttriff is bowling really well, but Marshall kind of, I don't want to say gets overlooked, but he's been, top 10, top 15. He made a couple shows this year. He's really bowling very well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think, Marshall's always been one of the most talented players out there. But I think, honestly, a lot of your success on tour has a lot to do with where you are personally in your life. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly blunt here and say that I think that there are certain places in the country that bring out the worst in people when you live there, or at least magnify your demons when you are there. And there's some people that are smart enough to get away from them and only come see them once in a while, and there's other people that get stuck in them for the rest of their life. Vegas is one of those places. It's a place that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Is he power pausing? Oh my God! I thought that was a power pause. You froze when you said you could do when you said you could do whatever you want, what you want, whenever you want, and then you did like I did at the end of the show that one time, but only I was joking and you were really stuck.
I mean, I'm the king of power pauses, but I was so impressed.
What you want, when you want, go. Damn. You could do whatever you want, when you want. And
I want to know. I really want to know what.
The perfect time too. Like this is the cliffhanger. Now go to our audio podcast, everybody, and then see us on tomorrow when it drops, and you'll get the rest of this show because we're giving away too much for free. Damn it!
You've been a big stickler on that. Before we get on to Johnny's thought, Ocho, the marketing genius.
Can you guys hear me?
Thinks we should only give.
No.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Ocho, the marketing genius, wants to give all of you lovely watchers here like 10, 15 minutes of the show, and then fuck off. Then fuck off. You can watch the rest or listen to the rest on our podcast.
Yeah, when we get to the more unfettered parts where we can really, so we don't have to be Facebook censored.
Johnny loves interacting with his peeps.
Yeah, he didn't need more than 30 minutes. He's too accessible. He's a pro, damn it. We're not supposed to have him that exposed.
No.
Amy Schumer's too exposed now. Look what happened to her.
What I was going to say before I
you can do whatever you want, whenever you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and then it was perfect, like perfectly stopped. And we're like, oh my God.
All right.
Cliffhanger. We'll give it.
So I think that Marshall's decision.
Life is spinning out of control.
Okay, Johnny, I'm sorry. That was the last one.
Marshall's decision to leave Vegas and go invest in the bowling center up in, I can't remember if it's in, I think it's in Oregon or Wyoming or wherever the hell he is, and closer to his hometown of Yakima in Washington. I think that because he's there, he's hunting in the off season, he's enjoying his life, he's operating a business, now he's out on tour. I think he's more relaxed with life. So I think that he's not chasing as hard as when he was here, Now that's 100% personal opinion. Thank you, Mike, Montana. I knew it was one of those fucking states. But yeah, so I think that you're seeing a little bit more of, first off, maturity. Marshall's getting older. I'm assuming Marshall's ready to win more than he's already won. And he's just got his head on his shoulders this year. And he's actually the guy that's most surprising because he's not a trick bowler. Like there's certain guys this year that the test of time will let you know how great they really are. Like, for instance, Cody Shoemaker. He's having the year of years. Like he's making it out of every TQR. He's made another cut here at the Masters. He made the cut at the US Open. But Cody Shoemaker may just match up this year. Maybe his ball rolling what he did the same way last year. Christian Ascona, or the year before, Christian Ascona made 3 shows. And it's like, now it's like, I don't know if Christian Ascona can go plus. Like, there's people that like figure out ways to almost match up. Zach Wilkins is another prime example, the two-hander who follows through to his left shoulder. There's bowlers that I think are a product of the element that they're in, and Marshall is not that. He is not a product of the two. He's not a two-hander. He's not a crazy high rev guy. He's the kind of guy that likes to play different zones than the ones that everybody is playing with a different kind of ball motion. So he's actually doing it, I think, with a lot more talent and skill than the guys who kind of fit the mold of what's out there in front of them, which makes it even more impressive.
Can we shout out PB3, Parker Bone III, who's bowling very well today? Actually, he's in 43rd. He was down early. And shout out to Ryan Simonelli, who had a 300 today. So,
what is Ryan at right now? Or is he done?
Ryan's at he's in 45th. He's plus 210.
Oh, he's definitely in. That's great.
Yes.
He made a post that
I don't know how updated the scores are, but after 2 games in the third round, he's plus 210. But he threw a 300 first game of the third round.
Well, he said that they were way too easy for him to be making them seem as hard as they are. And he said he was coming out with an entirely different game plan this evening, and he said he was going to absolutely destroy him. So if that's not oozing confidence and then come out and be perfect in game 1, I hope he keeps going. Yeah. That's awesome.
And Parker as well. It's really good to see him bowling well.
Going back to being in like the best place mentally, think about this week for Parker.
Mm-hmm.
All the lefties are throwing resin. So Parker is throwing resin like, oh, this is like kind of more normal. I get to play the zone-ish that I'm used to kicking everybody's ass from. So I don't have to play this loop-de-doo, double corkscrewed hinge, purple hammer, two-handed game this week. He's crossing with one of his children. Justin's on his pair the whole week, which has got to be the most – I don't know. I know how cool it is to bowl against your dad, but I don't know what it's like to be a dad bowling with your son. I'm assuming that's got to be like the best thing ever. And then his other son, Brandon, is on the same – they're and not on the same pair, but on the same squad. So you're in like one of the dynasty bowling centers of all time in Thunder Bowl in Allen Park. You're there not only with your family, but your family's competing with you, one of them on the same pair. I mean, Parker's got a little extra incentive this week. Plus, all you got to do is make it to the top 64. And like we said, from there, anybody can beat anybody in a 3-game total wood match. Anybody.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right. But it's really good to see him bowling well. Kyle Sherman is on a pretty good run since he came back. He's bowling well as well. Mm-hmm. Troop was down early. I think he was down in the 40s, but now he's back up to 24th. He had a really good third round today. 280, 214, 196, 232, 258.
Can I tell you about the 232?
Yeah, before you do that, I just want to roll off Parker's second round scores because that's really what got him back up in the standings. 215, 213, 211, 234, 247. So all plus during the entire second round. And tonight he's 194, 259.
All right. That's great.
But yes.
In Kyle's 232. So that game, he's crossing with Bill Rowe. Hello, best friend. I love you and I miss you. Billy Rowe from Canada, great player for a long time, was crossing with Kyle Troop this week. Billy Rowe is plus like maybe 100, and he's 136 over, and they're projecting the number to be around 180, 190. And Billy Rowe starts with the front 8. Now he's got the front 9. The same pair, Kyle Troop goes 4-bagger, spare, 4-bagger. And maybe he went spare, turkey, spare, all of them to the 10th. Something like that. As Billy Rowe is getting up to bowl his 10th frame to shoot 300 on the left lane, Kyle Troop gets up on the right lane, misses it a little bit at the bottom, leaks it, kind of shrugs his shoulders, and he leaves the 5-7-10 in the 10th frame. Wow. That's why he shot 232 that game. And then right after he leaves the sour apple, Billy Rowe gets up and leaves a stone 9 to lose his 300 bid for 279. I actually watched that live earlier today. That was pretty cool.
Wow. That's crazy.
No, I'm not digging the Steven Seagal look on his. I don't like it. It looks like he got bored after he got out of the shower. I don't like it at all. I'd rather it be in the bun or puffed out like crazy. I think it's too weird looking to me.
Johnny, how in the zone is EJ Tackett right now?
He's on a complete free roll. He is one of the best bowlers in the world, has been for a long time, and now he is winning every single thing that he bowls.
Winning.
Like Ryan Simonelli said, you could literally see the confidence oozing out of his pores. Just when it's, and now again, to me, this tournament, this is my most hated major tournament. I'm sorry, because at this point, it just does not matter anymore. Once you get to those top 64, now it becomes who's a good match play bowler. Ryan Simonelli is an excellent match play bowler. He's really, really good bowler. Chris Barnes is almost unbeatable in a 3-game series match. But there's other guys that really, really, really struggle when it comes to matches, when it comes to total pin matches. And again, it's a roll of the dice at this point. You don't know. I mean, if you flag a 9-pin on the fill ball of qualifying game 15, and that 1 pin could be the difference between you having to bowl Belmo in a 3-game match or Brian Halen in a 3-game match. Just like everything is determined by the most minuscule things. And it's all going to be a little bit of luck of the draw. Who you got, what pairs you got. Is this guy sharp? Is this guy nervous? Is this guy going to come out and pop off 830, 840 against me? I don't know. It's just a crapshoot at this point. It's certainly exciting the same way the NCAA tournament is. And I do agree that having a tournament with this kind of format compared to the traditional style formats is necessary. It's exciting. It's certainly got to be exciting for the fans to watch. And in a place, and that's probably why they held it in a place like Detroit, because Detroit always gets more fans to show up than any other city, except maybe, the Northeast or a little couple spots in Florida and maybe, the Bible Belt area, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois.
Dude, they used to go to the Joe Louis Arena for the stadium shows, for the stadium tour back in the 90s in Detroit. And
they would pack between 4,300 and 5,300 fans in that place for a PBA telecast. That's pretty fantastic.
You're absolutely right. And speaking of Barnesy that you mentioned earlier, he's bowling very, very well. He's in 8th place right now. He had a really good third round as well. So he shot 1,091 in the third round, 177, 234, 200, 211, 269.
Nice. They bowled a big last game to save that block.
Yes, dude, scores are high. And I mean, Belmo mentioned that on his channel yesterday that scores are going to be high this week, just trending after the first couple of rounds the first couple squads in the first day. That's, scores are going to be high. And they are, and they're still trending up. So lots of people. I mean, let's look at the cut line. Cut line right now. We got Jesse Calillo at plus 163, and we got Zach Tackett just off of that at plus 159. So Timmy Grundler is in 63rd. Santu is 61st. I'm looking at other notables. Packy having a tough week. He's 59. Ogle's 56th.
Wait a minute. Packy's having a tough week, but he's 59th?
I'm 59th out of, 170 200 bowlers, but
390. And
is there 390?
Yeah, and they take the top 64. So even if he's struggling, he's not struggling if he's in the top 20% of the field.
That's fair. I didn't realize there was that many.
Yeah, the Masters. This is the one that sells out in 30 minutes, and then there's a waiting list of 100 people.
I didn't see PTQ results. Do they not have one for this?
There was none.
So what are the qualifications to get into the Masters?
Pay the money.
Being a major.
Pay the money the fastest.
That's it. There's no.
I think you have to have maybe a USBC sanctioned average of 200 plus for 2 consecutive years.
Oh my god!
So you could have joined the Masters this week.
Well,
Rochelle could have joined the Masters this week.
And
Evelyn could have joined the Masters.
It has to be that thing where the bowling that you do at the arcade, where it's like you throw that skee ball and it knocks those pins down that are attached to the strings and whatnot.
Yeah,
you take that average too of 5 frames, like Ishmael does.
Well, then let me ask you this, Johnny: why is the field so big for this event?
First off, it's open to everybody. But secondly, what I just said, because it's the only tournament a year that a novice player can beat the best in the world. It's the only one.
Is that similar to I thought the U.S. Open was similar.
No, the U.S. Open, they've allowed bowlers with less credentials to have a chance to get into the tournament.
But the shot was hard that the cream was always going to rise to the top.
Right.
There wasn't.
Okay.
No
Right.
scab.
If I made it out of a PTQ at the U.S. Open, I'm not going to beat. It doesn't matter that I made it out of the PTQ. I'm not going to beat Pete Weber over 56 games on the U.S. Open pattern. It's just never going to happen. Okay.
Good point.
The Masters
People also should know the frame of reference too. Sorry, because that's why the cream rises to the top. We see one game on TV, and someone goes, "Well, in one game, sure, anybody can beat anybody," but that's just it. You got to bowl 50-something games, and you over the course of time, the laws of averages are going to overtake any fluke that may happen for that one game. So that's why that kind of sucks. Is a one game isn't really a true indication either. But I get why it is and how they do step ladders and whatnot. It makes sense. Go ahead.
Let me
Jeff,
let me just
by
talk.
the way, saying Packy at plus 170. I have a feeling how many games if with 3 that's going to be close. Packy might be the number at the conclusion. That might be the number for 64th.
You might be.
Steph always mentions this at Masters year, but were you going to say something else before I talk to you about why I thought everybody bowls the Masters?
No, it's fine. Go ahead. I was gonna roll off some of the scores that are way down and wonder why these people are allowed to bowl.
Let me read Steph's comment, and then you can read me those people. Steph always says this about the Masters. She's inclined to think the people that bowl that are doing it in hopes to cross with guys like EJ and Belmo, a glorified pro-am, so to speak. There are certainly guys out there with an extra $500 entry fee that want to get out of Dodge into a different city and be around that element. And to them, they probably combine it with a vacation or some shit. So, yeah, a lot of those entries are guys looking to say, yeah, I bowled the Masters. I crossed with Jason Belmonte last week. And he actually said to me, if I keep working on my game, that, I could go places in this sport. Like those people.
You could donate every week and make their prize fund a little more.
The last time I bowled in Detroit, there was a guy that I crossed with for all of the World Series the entire time. His name was Brian DeChico. And I swear to God, guys, this guy never bowled 170. He never bowled a 170. And this is like 9 games a day with other mixed tournaments. We were in Detroit for 30 fucking days bowling. And I finally said this guy, because he was the nicest man I've ever met in my life. I said, Brian, I'm just curious, like really just for curiosity's sake, what made you come bowl the World Series this year? Jeff, you're right. After I said that, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, who the fuck would want to go to Detroit for vacation? Especially not in a summer month either. But I said to this guy, Brian, I'm like, Brian, why are you out here bowling? Or like, what made you, like, what were your intentions coming here? He goes, oh, I didn't have any, John. I just really, really love bowling. So I asked him, so what do you do for a living? He says, oh, I don't do anything anymore. I won the lottery twice.
Oh. Wow.
And one of them was like the $5,000 a week for life. As soon as he said that, I went, okay, I would come out and bowl too if I averaged 160.
I'd be on tour all year if I had
all year. And so I just it's like the best answer he could have possibly given me. I'm like, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah. If I had a 205 average, I'm a PBA pro bowler. I'm on tour.
But like, for instance, let's just, before you read numbers, over 15 games, 3-5 qualifying blocks, if you guys average 190 and you go 10 under a game, just to make it easy, that's minus 150. Average house bowlers like me, I am an average house bowler. I would go to the Masters, and I could tell you right now, if I was sharp, I wouldn't bowl that. But if I was struggling, I would probably average about 190, and I would be about 150 under. Then I think about bowlers that have 1/3 of my talent. So why don't you read some of those? Just to give a perspective for what the number actually is. Like 150 under looks really bad on the screen until you realize you're averaging 190 over 3 days. It's not as horrific when you think of it that way. So go ahead.
I will say that the person in last place withdrew at minus 203. But the actual person that's still bowling technically has the lowest pinfall. In 387th is Noah Baumgartner.
Okay.
Negative 688. So
is he done with all 15 games?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me read his scores.
Well, tell me first what that averages out to.
Oh Christ. 154.13.
Okay.
So 125, 121, 146, 188, 116. Second round picked up a little bit, 168, 161, 177, 147, 138. Final round, 168, 153, 191, 172, and 141. Not a single positive game at all. So you average 154. That's last place. Going through just like the 500s.
Like, in other words, give me the guy who's in 300th place.
300th place.
Real quick, before you do that, Rob, JP, the guy that was bowling and he only shot 170, the DeChico guy, I think, did he at least look like he knew how to bowl? Did he throw the ball okay? Or was it like, this dude's hopping up to the line, Fred Flintstone in it and all that?
Physically, he looked like he knew how to bowl. I remember him wearing, I thought it was kind of badass that he wore white tape on his wrist, like medical tape. I thought that was cool. I think anybody that rocks medical tape is badass. But he, a little bit heftier guy, but decent knee bend, decent extension through the follow through. But he just was really bad. He never knew where the ball was going. And we all know Russell Yap could average more than 190 for a game. Come on. Say hi to Abigail, by the way.
The guy that averaged 153 for 15 games, how can you suck that much and not figure it out?
I could tell you this, that you get yourself in some pretty dark places when you're bowling long formatted tournaments and you can't get out of your own way. It happens to me in nationals. I'm telling you guys right now, if I went out and bowled on the nationals pattern, double, singles, or the regular team event, if you gave me 15 games over 3 days on that, I would go 400 under, because I worked my ass off trying every single tool that I had in my belt over the course of the 3 days that I was there, and I couldn't bowl 220. I think I bowled 220 my entire time I was there. And what it does to you mentally, it's like all the prep time, all the balls that I've drilled, all the time I've wasted tuning my game on and working on this and working on that. Now I'm driving there. I'm making sure I get the right food in my body, making sure I get myself time to recover, so I'm ready to bowl this squad and this and that. And then this asshole's got to try and throw me out of the fucking squad room because I don't have my pants on. And then one thing leads to a fucking... The next thing you know, you're ready to rip whatever hair you got left out of your fucking head. Here, speaking of doubles partners, here's my doubles partner for April 29th for a tournament out here in Vegas. Hi, Sherry. I love you.
Sensational Sherry.
Yes, we love and miss you, dear. Do you think maybe he's a guy who just wanted to do it for the experience, just to say he bowled the Masters? Absolutely. There's 100 guys in that field for that exact. That's kind of why I asked Rob what 300th place was, which, by the way, what was it?
300th place is Ian Kane. He's a regional guy in Livonia, Michigan, so he's close. He averaged 187.73, minus 184.
Okay.
That's actually respectable. I can see Ocho doing something like that.
So that's actually... That's not bad at all.
That's a compliment, Ocho. Like, you bowled fantastic when you went out to Vegas and bowled the Nationals
I bowled
last year.
Decent 2 blocks and awful on a third.
You averaged 190. I mean, that's
no, I don't know if I did.
I thought you did.
No, I shot a 584, I think, and I was playing them right down the middle too. So I had to grind to make all these wacky spares. Then I jumped to the right and started playing straight up 5, and I shot a 6 on the dot.
Nice.
That's better than 2,500 other people.
And then I shot like a freaking 510 the last, because we bowled 6 games in a row, and what I should have done is move back to the left where I was originally, and piped it right around a freaking, I don't know what board, but like just throw it down the middle, hit the one in the middle.
Had you bowled 8? Had you had 2 more games and you had 8 games, you probably would have made it.
No, because I had a lot of fireball.
But real... Attaboy. Is there anybody else you'd like to thank other than Fireball?
No. Yes. You for clearing out my thumb holes, but and the hospitality.
We would like to thank Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary for you.
Tom O'Leary, right here. Hello, neighbor.
But to answer the initial question that you asked, Rob, the other reason why so many entries are in the Masters is because it is the one tournament that is a crapshoot when it comes to winning. And I say that and I'm backing it up with actual facts. There are bowlers that have made TV and won the Masters that you have never, ever seen anywhere else. Brian Bogosian, one of the best bowlers out of the Northeast ever. But as far as the PBA Tour, the only time you've ever seen him on television is when he won the Masters and when he also made a show at the Masters. Brett Wolf, really, really great, awesome guy and lefty player from out here. He's from Reno. He was working for Pepsi. He averages 230 in league. He brought a powder blue hammer into the National Bowling Stadium, which is like kicking a soccer ball from his house. And he won $100,000. Jason Queen bowled 300 on a Masters telecast and won it. There are guys that you just... Patrick Allen made a TV show at the ABC Masters in 1992 before anybody knew who Patrick Allen was other than action players from the Northeast.
Well, same with Litchie. Litchie won the high roller, right?
You will always leave Jordan's comment there. You will always see there is always a possibility that somebody you have never heard of, and more oftentimes than not at the Masters, at least one guy you've never heard of makes television almost every single year. When you have that thought process of a bowler, like, well, I can finish in the top 64, and they're only 5-game blocks. They're not 8-game blocks. It's not head-to-head match play. It's not total pins. I just have to basically like do pretty good and make it, and then hopefully squeak by some matches. And next thing you know, if I get a good luck or a good draw, or I like keep fucking parlaying it on the horse track or whatever the hell it is, and I win 6 consecutive matches, I'm on TV. It's anybody's game at the Masters. And when you know it's anybody's game, there's nothing to second guess at all. That's why those entries go up for the Masters.
Okay.
Jordan says, just out of curiosity, is there something similar that could help train a bowler to kind of get ready for the Masters? Jordan, just like anything else, man, and nowadays you're always privileged to know the oil pattern or patterns that you're bowling on. So whether you're in the center that the tournament's being conducted in or you're in your home center, it makes no difference. Even if the pattern doesn't play true to what you're going to be bowling on, say in Detroit, going and practicing on a house shot when you're going to bowl on a PBA or a tournament shot is completely worthless. When I say it's worthless, it's worthless in this respect. Yes, when you see a good ball reaction, it creates good shot making. Like if you're striking at will, it's a lot easier to stay fluent, to stay relaxed, to get out of the ball clean, to really pose at the foul line. Everybody, oh, this guy's such a good bowler. He never misses. He never, ever misses. And then you go and you bowl, and everything that you do all the time on a house shot doesn't work on a tournament shot. All of a sudden, I can't send the ball right and watch it come back. I can't miss 2 in off my hand and watch it only leave a 4-pin. Now it's going to runaway Brooklyn. Or I can't curve it across the lane at my 7-pin because the ball doesn't hook through the middle part of the lane now. Or all of a sudden, everything, like Russell just said, it turns into bowling into a phone booth. So if you don't get your body physically ready to know what it's like when your miss area is this compared to this on a house shot, you're setting yourself up for failure. The other thing is you must learn how to shoot spares. And I'm telling you, with the exception of a few, like the 3-6-9-10 or a couple like double wood 2-8, shit like that, you better learn how to shoot your spares straight, bro. You need to throw the ball straight, cover as little lane as possible, get it as straight a line as possible to your spares because everybody throws strikes nowadays. I mean, people strike so much nowadays, it's absolutely fucking obnoxious. But there are not many people that still make every single spare they shoot at. People think Jason Belmonte is the best bowler in the world. I agree. People thought Mark Roth was the best bowler in the world at one time. I agree. Same thing with Earl Anthony. You know what, all those guys, why they were the best bowlers in the world and still are? Because they make their spares. Forget the strikes. Everybody throws strikes. But if you bowl a game with 10 strikes and 2 spares, that's 258. If you bowl a game with 10 strikes and 2 opens, that's 225. So it's that difference, that guy that covers every one of those spares and actually makes something out of those doubles that they throw rather than throwing a double to save an open. You're throwing a double to add on to a spare. That's what separates champions. So I always recommend to practice on at least something that's not your local house shot when you're trying to prep for a tournament. And Jordan, you bowl the sport leagues at South Point, so you know all about this already.
But what if you threw over different arrows? You know what I mean? What if it's a house shot, but you got to try and make different shots on it. So you move to the left a little bit, and then you throw over the third arrow and see if you can make it come back, and throw over the fourth arrow and see if you can make it strike from there. Like, is that a way to also at least take your house shot and make it a little more applicable for not for this, but just for your shot making at least?
Yeah, the only problem with it is on a typical house shot, if you're trying, let's say, like, for instance, me.
I know the middle's flooded really now when the house shot. And
the gutter is dry. So if I were to say, we'll use the Brunswick mindset as an example because Jeff brought it up earlier. If I was going to go with no thumb and attempt to play the first arrow with my Brunswick mindset on a typical house shot, I would basically be practicing getting my ball to hook into the right gutter. Because no matter how much I flatten my hand, and even if I did flatten it to a point that I could get it flush, I'm never, ever, ever going to have to do that extreme, right? The same way, it's very rare on the ever going to have to play in front of the ball. We just never get that deep, because if we're getting that deep, we're in all down point, which means we're going to have to throw it over the front. Right. And we'd rather do that where there's at least some head oil. Exactly. It's different for everybody. I kind of lost my train of thought per usual. I do that at least once. You
were talking about practicing on a house shot is kind of useless for a big tournament that is very tough to hit your spot.
But I do like your idea. Like, in other words, if I wanted to bring, say, 6 balls I could bring 6 bowling balls to my house shot. Here's a prime example, because he's bowling good this week, and I hope he's still bowling good. Dio Bernard. Dio Bernard is I used to bowl doubles events with his father, Rick Bernard, sensational player. Dio's had a lot of success in the regionals. I believe he won the non-champions event out here, and I think I saw him in 8th place going into today. Dio is a two-handed lefty. I was giving a lesson at Sunset Station last week, and Dio shows up to come practice getting ready for the Masters. And the first 20 or 25 shots I saw Dio throw, he threw his black Maxim plastic ball up the first arrow. The second game, he threw his purple hammer somewhere between the second and third arrow. The third game, the next 10 shots, he switched to the purple resin hammer. And he slowly but surely took the migration path deeper and deeper, almost mimicking what he would think he would do on a condition if it called for such. So yes, I agree with you, Ocho. I think that is the best way to tune your game. That way you're comfortable from all zones of the lane. And it is kind of easier to do it on a house shot where you can at least generate ball reaction from each zone. So you don't lose the true rhythm or the release point.
But knowing full well that if you do go, if you're righty and you're, standing in front of the ball return, that the middle is still flooded. So it's not an ideal shot because the house shot wouldn't even call for that at any point. So you're almost hitting your target and seeing how the ball can face up, and maybe not even worrying about score or something like that.
Exactly.
Hitting your target and your break point, and hopefully Ronnie James Dio will still continue. Holy diver, to the midnight field.
Yeah, maybe it'll just be a rainbow in the dark.
Or that.
Nice. So
I would do that.
So Johnny, getting back to spares, why do you think pros miss so many spares? We see it especially on TV.
It's so weird to me. I don't think pros miss that many spares. I just think we see them miss a lot. Because when you look back at the shows in the 80s and the 90s, early 2000s, they missed spares then too.
I was thinking the same thing.
But there are certain spare combinations that used to be easy that are now like next to impossible to make.
Ones that they used to be able to hook the ball into were easier, and now that everybody throws straight, the 1, 2, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 9,
3,
10.
6, 9, 10. That's the first one I was going to say. Everybody used to basically try and make the 6-pin. They would try and curve it and make the 6-pin.
Yes.
The 3-6 became the pocket. Now you can't do that anymore because you can't get the ball to where it has to be to make it curve and hit all 4 of those pins correctly. So now you see guys like Wes Malott and Sean Rash and Chris Vi throwing it straight as an arrow at the 3, 6, 9, 10. The same exact thing has happened with the baby split. the baby split, the 310 for a righty, 2.7 for a lefty, used to be made 8.5 out of 10 times it was shot. Because no matter how far right you threw it, the ball would hook and you would never, ever, ever miss the 3 or the 2 pin. Now, you either got to hook it with plastic and hopefully cut it perfectly, or you got to throw it dead straight the way you would shoot a 3.610 or a 2.47. So a lot of spares have to be shot differently because the elements and the variables are affecting the way that you have to shoot them compared to yesteryear. For single pins, the number one thing I've always hated when it comes to single pin spare shooting is when people shoot a left side spare from the left side of the approach for a righty, or a lefty shoots a 10 pin from the right side of the approach. To me, is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Like as much as I love him, admire him, and appreciate his game, I've never understood why Wes Malott shoots a 7 pin standing from 27 or 28 on the approach. Like, you're giving yourself a little bit of a tunnel this big to hit 60 feet away from you, whereas if you shoot him like Jason Sterner. When Jason Sterner leaves a 7 pin, he stands in the same spot on the approach, just backwards of where he would shoot a 10 pin from. If the 10 pin's over here, no right-hander shoots a 10 pin up the first or second arrow, right? Nobody. They all shoot it from the 4th or the 5th arrow. They use the entire lane. So why on earth, if I leave it on the other side of the deck, would I take my margin of miss from this to this? I've never understood that, especially when I'm throwing it straight or end over end.
It was ingrained in me as a kid to always shoot cross lane. I mean, that's just what you do. You cut down the angle.
Right.
I mean, it's just
exactly. And it's so I would contribute those things. A lot of spares you have to shoot differently. And at some point, somewhere along the way, somebody decided that they thought it was cool to shoot. I mean, guys, off the top of your head, tell me who misses the most spares on television. Top 3 guys, go.
I was going to say
in the chat too. Who misses? There's one. There's Resh. Who else?
I was going to say, yeah.
Who else misses more spares than anybody on television?
I don't know anybody
He's
else.
one of the best bowlers ever. He's in contention this week. His son is also bowling.
Parker Barnes
Not
III.
that one. He never misses spares. Barnes.
Oh.
Barnes.
Does he? Oh.
Yeah. Go watch TV. But there's 2.
I'm watching TV right now.
Let's just use those 2. And the third one I was going to say is Wes. Wes misses a lot of spares on television also. But especially, and Kelly Kaufman, he missed a lot, but he struck a lot more than anybody else back then. But those guys, they all do it the same way. Like, they all shoot him with that same mentality where it's, I'm going to use this much of the lane. And I may be a little, skewed in my opinion here, but the fact of the matter is the question was, why do pros miss so many spares? And I think that a lot of them are just improperly lined up. That the angle, they're not maximizing their margin of error. They're not using the correct angles at them. That's what I think.
Has plastic hurt or helped? I know this sounds like a stupid question, but I never threw a plastic ball at any of my spares, even 7 pins. And I was picking up 7 pins. Let's just say 91%
You flatten your wrist and you
with a resin ball.
Just point. You just point, and it hooks a teensy bit. But you think you're asking if plastic balls hurt just on the corner pins or just in general for spares?
I mean, typically they use them. They don't
because they use them for everything there now. They pretty much because they don't hook them anymore into the spares.
I never use plastic when I use my thumb because I would just flatten my wrist and dead roll it end over end, similar to Norm Duke,
the thumb
Mike
hole,
Machuga, shit like that.
Has it made people lazy?
No, I don't.
Because plastic gives them an edge, so they can put as much spin as they want on it. It's not gonna.
No, where plastic is very, very vital to a lot of bowlers. There's only
I haven't missed a 10 pin in a month and a half because of plastic balls. By the way, just to it comes and goes, but like there's a definite benefit for me, and I'm just a house hack. But
the benefit of a plastic ball is in, say, longer formatted tournaments, it stops you from flip-flopping hand positions. Like if you're throwing 6 strikes a game, 7 strikes a game, and you're shooting 4 spares a game, and your wrist position is here, and your spare ball is here, and you're going back and forth, what the plastic ball does is it allows you to continue using your strike ball release on your spare shot. So you have less moving parts, less transition, so it actually makes it easier. And again, it's personal preference, but they haven't made the game good, bad, or indifferent. It was just part of progress. And eventually when balls with more surface friction came out, we didn't need the plastics to be strike balls anymore. And they eventually turned into what they are. Jeff asks, how do you shoot at the 1, 2, 4, 6, 10? Do you throw it straight at the 1, 2, or do you hook at it? The 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. That's the PBA washout. So for me, I shoot the PBA washout differently depending on where I am. When I'm on a house shot, I'll usually just take my plastic ball and get against the gutter and hook it Brooklyn. But when I'm in any moderately difficult condition, I stand, let's say I'm on the left lane, I stand against the ball return, and I'm trying to make the baby split between the 1 and 4. I'm so inaccurate with it that sometimes when I let it go, I hit the head pin on the right side. So basically, I'm trying to make the baby split the right way or the wrong way and kind of just hoping when I let it go. Sherry says, I think to some degree they miss spares because in today's game, they're so used to striking by throwing it hard and fast. They don't really work on their spare games just as much. I was going to say that next. Is the game nowadays with the astronomical scores that we see every single week, when guys are averaging 230, they're really only shooting 3 spares a game, guys. Maybe 4.
Yeah.
And of those 4 spares, okay, over the course of 4 or 5 days, if they're bowling 5 games a day, they shot a total of 80 spares and they missed 10 of them. That's a shitty percentage, but they, like Sherry said, they're just not shooting as many. Dan Benovitz, congrats on your recent 800 choke. Thank you. Not pressures, since we only see them on TV. Also, pros miss a 10-pin 1 of 20 times. Also could be a lost concentration for the moment. Again, every single point that everybody has made is a valid point.
Yeah.
100%. Your girlfriend's here, Oach.
Well, can I ask you this, Johnny? Just kind of going back to the spare thing, or at least the plastic ball thing, which does tie into the spares. Put yourself in your dad's shoes. How does he feel about plastic balls or needing a plastic ball to shoot a spare as opposed to learning hand manipulation like he did, like everybody else?
By the way, yes, congrats to Dan on the 300, and I'm sorry about not hitting 800. I'm sure you'll get it soon. I guess I should have been nice before I was a cocksucker. Ooh, God, that was a bad word. Sorry.
No, that's a good woman.
Cocksucker.
My dad, for as long as my dad doesn't use plastic.
He's a hooker.
My dad throws a rubber LT at his spares now, which I need to try and beat it into his brain that he needs to adapt a little bit. My dad can't throw the ball 15 miles an hour anymore. I watched him bowl the bar trophy tournament online through Mike Val's feed, and I watched him miss virtually every 7-pin he shot by 2 or 3 boards right of it. And it's like, really? Dad, you are right in the righties laydown. You're bowling on AMF HPL. You're using a rubber ball that's dull with 70 hardness. It's 20 years old. It's probably 60 hardness now. As soon as that ball touches the lane, it's hooking. Whether you know it or not, it's hooking. It's time for you to drill a plastic ball. But Dad used to drill lower end resin balls and kind of just thumb it down and still hook it at a 7-pin. But he's never, ever liked plastic. But it's finally gotten to a point that it's time for him to drill a plastic ball. He needs one.
Which for his age, I get. But I mean, like him, like Jeff says here with Norm, they had hand manipulation. They knew so many different tricks with their hands.
Yeah, really. The only
whereas you don't really get that much anymore.
Yeah, the only time you've ever seen my dad use a plastic ball to shoot a 7-pin was when he was using a plastic ball as a strike shot, in the 70s, like when he won the World Open in '74. But even in '77 when he won the U.S. Open, he was throwing an LT on that show, but he shot his 7-pins with an LT. He never ever threw plastic.
The reason I asked is just because has plastic taken the skill or the art out of shooting spare shots?
No, plastic goes exactly where you dictate it to go. So if anything, throwing a plastic ball heightens your accuracy. Mm-hmm. It expands your miss room a little bit in the respect that if you yank a plastic ball and you're curving it, it will hydroplane longer and not change direction. So you'll have more of a margin of error, but you still have to get the ball started at your desired target 60 feet away from it on the correct path to even have a chance to make it. Again, it's all personal preference. There are guys that have never touched plastic. There are guys that cannot live without plastic. A guy who's a prime example that it's really to each his own is Walter Ray Williams Jr. Walter Ray, if anybody ever remembers old vintage Walter Ray videos, the very familiar thumping sound of the thump, 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 because his spare ball would roll directly over his fingers and his thumb hole. And you would hear the ball rumble the whole way down the lane. Now, Walter has always used a plastic ball for his whole career to shoot a 10-pin.
Yeah.
Talk about somebody that certainly doesn't need a fucking spare ball to shoot a 10-pin. Very similar to Norm Duke, but Walters actually tumbles even more than Norm's does. So that just goes to show you, Norm never used it. Marshall Holman put top spin on a resin ball, never used plastic. Every single person is different when it comes to spare shooting.
John's Perone says I'll throw my beer bottle at 7-pin.
Thank you, Budweiser.
I was just wondering because, like I said, I never used any ball other than my strike ball. Obviously, I'm not a pro. I'm a career, 195, whatever, 2.0. But just wondering, have people stopped learning to manipulate their hands because of the equipment, whether it's high-end resin or plastic or.
We did talk about that with Danny Wiseman a little bit too, where it's also
a little bit,
because and the reason I asked him was because he was in both sort of genres of it, both eras where you only had 2-3 bowling balls, and now you can stand in your spot until you match up with the bowling ball. But still, I'm great at hand manipulation. I'll just say that outright.
That's a great point, though, Ocho, and I've seen a lot of guys, whether it's the House Bowling Channel or it's Kyle and Brad, like a lot of them will try 6, 7, 8 different balls
to stay in that zone, to stay in that
stay
spot.
In the same area where they like to stand. But when I watch Belmo says I like to stay inside early until I can move to the left and then make my shot later on in the game when the oils break down. He's all over the place. How come other bowlers don't follow that same mindset?
Well, that was a lot of questions, but my answer here is the game. Everybody, hand manipulation nowadays is different than it used to be. Remember, the guys in the 80s and the early 90s, they only had so many tricks available to them. There was only a couple resin balls out by manufacturers in the early 90s, and even if they drilled multiples of one ball, they only really drilled 2 or 3. Nobody was ever lugging 10, 12 balls around and then going to the truck and drilling 5 more to fill that 2-board gap that this ball doesn't produce. So back then you saw a lot more of, I got to get my hand on the side of the ball. I got to get my hand under the ball. I got to curl my pinky, uncurl my pinky, do this, do that, blah, 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 blah. Nowadays, the moves are different. They are still, we got to change speeds. We got to change angles. We have these markings down lane that tell us where to throw the ball to the break point. So now I need to make sure my ball is producing the right reaction at that break point. Is the carry consistent with what that break point says it should be doing? It's gotten a lot more.
They have 3 balls that are the same, but one's pin high, one's pin here, one's pin there, but it's the same kind of ball.
And the amount of weapons, it's no wonder. So yes, they are still making the same moves. They are still very versatile. They are still very good at manipulating what needs done to make shit work. I mean, these guys ain't going out there averaging 230, 240 every week doing the same thing. Jacob Buttriff's 500 over this week. He hasn't thrown urethane down the lane once, not once. So
he's so good.
There are guys that have honed their skills and use the tools that are available to them. And just like any other game, man, I'm sure that today's generation of golfers are way, way different than the guys of yesteryear. Then you could sit here and argue all day that Jack Nicklaus is better than Tiger Woods ever was, but
hitting a persimmon driver and instead of titanium and
right, because you're comparing apples to oranges at that point. You can't. It's like telling me, like we've said in the past, if Mark Roth in his prime was bowling right now, he doesn't stand a chance against these guys. The same way, if I don't know, EJ Tackett bowling the way that he bowls was bowling in the early 80s would stand no chance against Mark Roth. So it's all a product of what you're around and what you have to adapt to. By the way, I'm looking at the time. I got my gym date in like 40 minutes. We have to do the fucking imbecile of the week. It has to be that goddamn post that you showed me.
All right, here we go.
It's time for everybody's favorite segment.
If you guys don't know how to use a seatbelt, just ring your call button and Tommy will come back there and hit you on the head with a tack hammer.
You know, Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
Here's the imbecile of the week.
Some people are really stupid.
All right, this week's imbecile of the week. Oh
my God.
Sorry, lady.
Are you still in your car?
No.
Are you still in your car, Rob? Are you still at the Piggly Wiggly?
The imbecile of the week is DJ Van Winkle, who posted, I believe this might have been in the
Isn't that Vanilla Ice's brother?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you're right. If you can't hold a ball with one hand, maybe you need a lighter ball or a little more muscle, wuss. The first person to answer that was Jason Belmonte, who said, my daughter's typing this reply because my hashtag 2 hands are full of player of the year trophies. He's got all 7 or 8
Can
of
you
them,
put the
whatever.
picture up?
It's up.
The
I see
picture
it.
is up.
Up where?
Right on the screen. I'm
Is it
staring right at it.
No, I don't see it.
It's straight at 5.
There ain't shit on my screen, bro.
I'm sorry.
It's there.
No, it's not.
No, it's
A whale's vagina.
But
Doesn't
I
it
love
mean
Belmo.
Saint
God,
Diego?
No, that's not accurate.
I absolutely love.
He wins
Belmo.
that
He
hands
is-
down. By the way,
Where is it?
dude, we're looking
on the
at it.
screen.
Is everybody? Whoever's in the
literally-
chat? Do you see a Vanilla Ice picture on the? No, it's not Vanilla Ice. It says DJ Van Winkle to Jason Belmonte. It's a Facebook
Show of
post.
hands, everybody.
Put a 1 in the chat if you see it. Yes.
Bear says yes. John Sprone says Johnny's a fucking retard.
No, I think he's talking about Rob Van Winkle.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, you're right.
Good. Why don't you post that picture I just sent you in our private chat? That way
It's
everybody
it's
can
right
see
in the
me
middle of the
taking
screen.
the picture of nothing on my screen.
It's right in the middle of the screen.
Take a look.
Read what
at your
Sherry
phone.
Morgan White is
literally
telling you.
in the
I
middle.
understand.
Okay,
I'm letting y'all know I can't fucking see it. And it's
Maybe you're
upsetting
doing
me.
something wrong again.
You're right.
I'm sorry.
I'm breathing, and that must be the problem.
See, this is what Rochelle
I'm
called me
sorry.
earlier and said you were still breathing, and I said just give it time.
It's almost done. Well, anyway,
Sorry, Johnny.
Because you're on
can't
full
see it.
screen. That's why.
is that why? Nope, still don't see shit.
Nope, still don't see it. No, I see you're right, Johnny.
I am right, asshole. I'm
Yeah,
not
let
just
No,
giving
but
you
because
shit.
you're on full screen.
All right, as
Let me-
long as everybody else can see it, I have my own copy here.
Actually, we're all lying. We've been making it up. We're totally messing with you. There's
Yeah,
nothing on the screen.
We're just fucking with you. We can't. There's
So
nothing.
it's really
at all.
not
We're
on
not
the
even on the screen. Of course, it's on the screen. Here's Johnny's screen, by the way.
Wait, John, can you see the picture that we just put up of your picture?
Absolutely, yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I
can
see
you
it
see-
perfectly. Mark me down for a 1. No, I don't see shit.
Because you're on full screen still.
I'm not on full screen.
I
Now
bet
I'm
you
on
are.
full
Maybe you
screen.
should be on. Maybe you should be on full screen.
Maybe you're too jacked because it's always on full screen.
I'm fucking kidding with
That's
you.
true.
You fucking shoot the guy.
Oh,
All right.
In any
event,
Belmo.
Here's the problem with this, and this is why as big of an imbecile as this asshole is, this is the problem with our world. This guy wrote something so fucking stupid to the
fucking
greatest bowler in the world in hopes that it would be recognized, and it is, because I'm recognizing DJ Winkle Van, but what's his name?
DJ Van Winkle.
DJ Van Winkle? I'm
Rip Van Winkle's
recognizing
great
this
niece,
asshole.
great nephew.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for always being here, bro. Anyway,
Thank you, Brian.
self-explanatory.
Points.
I don't think DJ Van Winkle has 15 major titles, and I don't think DJ Van Winkle is the greatest bowler in the world.
I don't
And
think he has a
he's not only
15
talking to
IQ.
Jason Belmonte. I think he's talking to the entire evolution and generation of the sport of bowling, and 70% of what its bowlers are now.
Well, here's the
under
other
that
thing.
age.
What's great about us and us, giving the attention that needed. So, people who know this guy know he's a freaking, an asshat, basically. Now, the entire internet and anybody who watches or listens to Straight Up 5 knows this guy is a freaking chuck wagon. So we're doing society a favor by letting everybody else know who doesn't already know. Again, anybody who knows this guy has said, "Man, this guy's a real douche." just by talking to him. Now
we're
we
just letting
all know.
everybody
We
else
don't even
know.
have to talk to him.
Perfect.
But now he's got his 15 minutes of fame. So
Yeah, which we kind of helped give it to him. So, DJ.
And he's bragging. He's like, "Did you see what I wrote to Belmo?" And it's like, "Yeah, he just freaking owned your ass." Oh yeah, but he replied, "I don't know."
Exactly. That's the problem with it. Is it was enough to get a response from the greatest bowler in the world. Which, damn it,
Well,
Justin DJ Van Winkle. Why did I just want to call him Justin? I'm going to call him Justin.
He looks like a Justin.
He does look like a Justin.
I can't see him.
Is that his
so I don't
picture,
know.
or is that him and his kid?
Stop talking about the picture. I can't see it.
It's him and his girl, I think.
It looks like a real young kid.
I don't think she's that young.
I don't know. Can you blow it up?
I could be wrong. Is he from Alabama?
Okay, that's not the point. Very good. I don't know my
Sorry
Twitter.
for anybody in Alabama. But look, on one hand, I love Belmo's response because it's fucking typical Belmo. 2, I lost a little bit of respect for Belmo because he's wearing a Yankees hat.
Okay.
And 3, to use a wrestling term, I wouldn't have sold it. I wouldn't have responded because that just gives him the attention he's looking for. If you fucking no-sell it, then this guy just looks like a fucking dipshit and no one's listening to him. But since Belmo gave him the attention that he so desperately wanted, you can say that, Belmo shouldn't have responded.
I don't know. I get what you're saying.
I'm glad he did, but I do get what you're saying.
It's still he owned him. Like
he did.
It's not like he was like, oh well, I started working out last week, dummy. Like he just literally said, well, hey, God, my arms are just way too full of all these trophies that I have. Like that,
and all the major trophies behind him on his fucking shelf of fame there.
Right.
No, he wins that hands down. But yeah, if I kind of wonder how. Oh, it went right to him also. So. Could anyone else?
That's what it is. He literally said it like on his page or whatever. Like he posted it to Jason. It wasn't like he posted it in the fucking. And I thought this was in the Storm group. I think maybe somebody reposted it. But yeah, he literally when he posted that, he wrote to Jason Belmonte. So of course Belmonte answered it. But again, he didn't have to. But we're all glad he did because
Yeah, totally.
But anyway, Justin Van Winkle, you are the fucking imbecile of the week.
Hands down. You win this one by a landslide there, Justin.
You cocksucker.
Thanks to everybody for being here as always.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We love you guys. Again, if you're not subscribed to our channel on YouTube, please do. It doesn't even cost you anything. It just literally go to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. or just type Straight Up 5 Podcast. It'll be the first result that comes up. And subscribe to our channel, like our videos. It helps us get through the algorithms and helps other people find the show. And those of you who are watching on Facebook, thank you. Thank you very much for being Johnny's friend.
Thank you.
And subscribe to our audio podcast. If you're on the run, you want to listen to it on the treadmill or in your car or at work, subscribe to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. And you can find that where, Ocho?
Everywhere. Under my couch, just under my pool cover, I found a podcast. Anywhere podcasts are found.
Isn't it a little early to look into the pool?
I was looking for a podcast, so I said, well, here's a spot. I had to check the furnace. Then I said, let me check the underside of the cover.
That's fair. No, that's fair. Kevin Bears, let's go.
Late to the game.
Late.
We are going all right. We are going all right. See you, everybody.
See you guys.
We'll see. We'll see you next week. Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.